Hey, this is Dr. Brian Atkins with the Atkins Academy. Wanted to take the opportunity to go live and talk about a very big topic that I do get a lot of questions about and a lot of people kind of asking about, which is this whole kind of crisis that we kind of find ourselves in within the healthcare community with regard to the nursing schools, and especially fake nursing schools. And so I wanted to talk about that today. So we'll get into that kind of what happened, what's going on. How do you avoid these types of schools, right? Because I mean, obviously they're out there, certainly under investigation. There's more that are kind of coming online in terms of being investigated as well. And so how do we know, right? So how can we trust the system? What are things that you can do to certainly avoid a lot of the quote unquote fake nursing schools, right? And But also, how do you make sure that you don't fall victim to kind of been in that space of finding this easy kind of program that just lets you in, and then you don't have to do a whole lot of work, and then all of a sudden you get a degree in the mail, and realize that even though you've paid your money, you've gotten a degree. If that school is not accredited, then that degree is pretty much worthless, right? And even worse, right? You go and you start practicing, and they find out that your degree has come from one of these schools. Then a lot of these nurses, and right now, actually over 7,600 nurses who have gone through these fake nursing school programs, they're actually getting their license pulled, right? And some of them are actually finding themselves in criminal trouble, right? Um, and so with that, there have been at least three schools, and so it's kind of the deal. There have been at least three schools that have actually, yeah. Feel free to comment. I wanted to say that. Thank you for joining. Yeah, feel free to comment, ask questions, certainly participate. But there have been three schools in particular that have been shut down. And so Palm Beach School of Nursing, but also sorry about that. So Palm Beach School of Nursing, but also the Sacred Heart International Institute, but also Siena College, right? All of which have been identified as a part of this scam, if you will, that essentially allowed for students to pay about $17,000, right? And they would offer them the degree, the associate's degree in nursing. Okay, and the students. Were allowed to attend semi classes. Depends on the school, right? But essentially, it took about a 3 to 6 month process, sometimes even a 12-month process, for them to grant you without having taken all of the classes and actually doing all the work and going through all of the clinicals. And some were better than this or worse than this than others, I should say. But essentially, there was this opportunity to just pay your money and get that degree. And so this has been spurred a lot by the high demand for nurses, right? Obviously, you hear there's a nursing shortage. Well, part of that is because there are travel agencies out there that are basically taking the staff nurses and well, not taking, but these staff nurses that are at the hospital who are making a particular salary, they would rather go and be travel nurses to make two or three times their salary, right? And so that obviously creates a shortage within the space of the hospitals, right, and their ability to maintain patient nurse ratios, right? And so with that, there's been a huge demand for nurses, and so as a result of that, certainly the government has put more money into helping to facilitate more nursing schools and kind of ramping that process. And so, of course, whenever you have that kind of thing, there are going to be some bad actors. And so, in particular, in this case, these schools did set up shop, and they were able to essentially offer they went through the steps of getting accredited, so to speak, with the accrediting board, especially in Florida. There's some other schools that are actually under investigation as well, and kind of they're looking at as well in other states also. Okay, but these schools in particular, they went through the process of actually getting accredited, getting their license, and then start selling selling admissions tickets. Okay, and so with that, these students were allowed to attend the program, and they received diplomas and transcripts were allowed to be purchased. Okay, and so with that, that ultimately led to somewhere in the vicinity of $1.2 million in revenue that they had racked in over a couple years. Okay, but the problem is that obviously these students who needed to take the NCLEX exam in order to become licensed. A lot of them were not passing the NCLEX, right? And even worse, I mean, I'm hearing numbers of 5% pass rate, right? I mean, anything below, say, a 90% pass rate should certainly alarm you, right? And so there's our clue number one. So if you want to avoid these fake nursing schools, you want to avoid these. How do you personally avoid these types of schools? Well, number one of the questions that you should be asking the nursing school or nursing schools that you're applying to is, what is your first time NCLEX pass rate? How many of your students, of those 50 or 60 or 100 students that you accepted, how many of those students are actually graduating, have made it through the program, and actually pass the NCLEX? If that number is 40%, run, right? If that number is 5%, obviously go the other way, right? You should be looking for numbers upwards of 80 to 90%, right? And so even ask them, go even further and ask them, how many of your students who did not pass on the first time, how many of them were able to pass the second time, right? So fine, okay, you have some students who are going to fail the first time. How many of those students retook the NCLEX exam and were able to actually pass the second time? Because if the school really cares about its relationship with its students, but also its reputation, then obviously, if there are students who don't pass, they're going to provide the resources that are needed to help this student to actually get past the NCLEX, right? And so that's when you know that the school actually cares about their reputation and about their students. Those are the types of schools that you should definitely be looking at applying to. Okay, and so with that, again, number one, you should be asking, what is your first time NCLEX pass rate? Make sure you write that down, because that is a question that you should be asking these schools. Okay, and so with that, you want to make sure that you're checking with the local state accrediting agency within Florida, within Texas, New York, wherever it is. Make sure that this school is an accredited school. And so, even more so, you want to understand, when is the last time that school had their evaluation for accreditation, right? If that evaluation is more than, say, 3 years or 5 years or 7 years old, then they're probably up for renewal, right? And so, with that, you want to ask yourself, has this particular school had any violations, right? And so, I know we all like to talk about, oh, need to get past the T test, need to get past this, need to get the prerequisites. Well, equally important is making sure that the school that you choose to apply to, the school that you choose to attend, has a very good record of helping their students not only get through the program, get past the NCLEX, but also they've done that without major violations, right? And so, if you kind of follow the news and kind of follow what's going on, but you've had some of the high-ranking schools actually with violations. I believe the last one I saw was like Yale. And so there are schools out there that are on the brink of shutting down, right, or have problems. And so with that, make sure that you are looking for the record, right? Make sure you're looking at the record. There are ways to look for this thing and to look for these types of violations. And so make sure that you're looking for those records. Okay, and so making sure that the school is obviously, like I said, taking care of their students, but also helping their students get past the NCLEX, but also making sure that they don't have any violations in within the school curriculum, but also within their clinicals. Okay, and so these are things you want to start kind of thinking about and looking at. But one of the best things that you can do as well is to make sure that you actually talk to other nurses who have actually gone through that program, right? So if you're applying to a school or multiple schools and you have no idea of any of the nurses who have attended that school, definitely not the right approach, right? So make sure that you're getting inside of these nursing groups, these Facebook groups nursing groups, but there's also lots of other communities as well. And so definitely, go to the hospitals, meet with nurses, go to the schools, meet with the students, right? And so you don't have to be a student a lot of time to interact with the nursing students. Everyone wants to interact with the counselors. That's great. The counselor's going to give you their story, but you need to be in communication with the actual nursing students who are there, and then obviously graduates from that school as well. Do they feel prepared? Do they feel like they've actually gotten a great education? Was it worth it? Right. So I know this is a lot of, seems like a lot of research, but this could save you not only hundreds of thousands of dollars, but in addition to that, this could really save you by going to the right school. This could save you from actually going to jail. Right, because like I said, some of these 7,600 fake nurses who are practicing, not only are they going to lose their license, but in addition to that, some of them, like I said, are under criminal investigation. Okay, and so some of them blatantly and willingly did this and participated in this whole scam. Right, and so with that, there are some real consequences with not doing your homework and not doing your research when it comes to applying to these particular schools. Okay. And so, certainly, what I highly recommend, one of the things that we actually see with regard to a lot of these schools is that this malfeasance that's happened certainly comes with a lot of the private schools, right? No slant on any of the private schools. However, the ones that have been implicated here are private schools, right? And so, with that, especially the online private schools, right? And so, make sure that you're doing your homework. Make sure you're doing your research, right? Make sure that this school that you're applying to excuse me, does have a good reputation, right? And so, is the school running advertisements? Is the school a reputable school? Do other people know about this program? Has this program been in the news for bad publicity? Excuse me. And so these are things you want to make sure that you are looking at and looking for, not just applying to a school because just say, oh well, hey, you can get into our program, just get a 42 on the teas test. You don't have to really have prerequisites, nothing that you have to really worry about there, right? So if it's too easy to get into, then you have to, number one, ask yourself what's wrong with this school. But number two, if I go to this school, if I get a 42 on the TEAS test and I go and I attend this school, and everybody in the group whom they've accepted has a 42 or 47 on the TEAS test, right? Again, if you get a 47 in on your chemistry exam or your biology exam, then you failed the class, right? So essentially, if they're taking students who only get 40s and 50s on the TEAS test, then you have to ask yourself how many of those students are going to be able to get past the rigors of nursing school, right? In addition to that, how many of these individuals are going to be able to pass the NCLEX, okay? Because when you sign up for that school and they are accepting students who are not who have not done so well on the TEAS test, have not done so well with the prerequisites, then you're putting your degree at risk, right? And so at the end of the day, if that school loses their accreditation because you may study, you may be a great student, but your colleagues are not great students, your colleagues have not really put forth that effort, then what happens is you're putting your degree and your money, right, that you paid for that school at risk. Because if you go there and these other students are not doing well with the curriculum, and so half of the students again are failing out of the program. So again, that's one of those questions that you want to ask: how many students that you've taken in? So of the 50 students that you accepted, how many are actually graduating? And so if that number is cut in half, then that school may be at risk of losing their accreditation. If that school loses their accreditation, we've seen this with Daytona State College, for example, a couple years ago. If that school loses their accreditation, all of the students who are there at that time, they also have a decision to make. Do you do you stay with the school and hope that the school will get their accreditation back, right? Or do you leave, right? And I've met several students who have been at that point where they've just left, right? And so you still owe the money to that school or owe the money to Sally Mae or who, if you took out loans for that program. However, you have no degree and those classes are no longer accredited, right? And so with that, you want to make sure that you're choosing the right school and not one of these, not only just the fake nursing schools, but the low performing schools, okay? Because the low performing schools, these are schools that may be private schools. Some private organization open up that school. They start taking in students. Maybe they were trying to do a goodwill for the students and accepting students with low scores. However, if that program shuts down, right? You, the student, lose all of your money, right? You also don't get the degree, you don't get the practice. And that same group, they will just go somewhere else and open up another school under a different name, I should say. And when they do that, right, they don't care, right? They just keep doing it. And so you got to understand there's a business at work here as well. And you want to make sure that you're not falling trap to that. Okay, and so make sure that you're looking for really high quality schools, high quality nursing schools that have a reputation of doing right by their students. But in addition to that, make sure that you're talking to students from that school. It's not hard to get in contact with students from that school, right? And so go to the school one day, right? And you'll actually see nurses walking around, nurses in the lobby, right? And so nurses leaving and coming and going, okay? And so with that, talk to those students, right? Have a conversation. Okay, and so certainly look for the opportunity to get on LinkedIn if you're not on LinkedIn or one of these other social media platforms, and find nurses who, if you go on LinkedIn, you can actually find nurses, and you can see, okay, you can put in LinkedIn, put a search into LinkedIn for that particular nursing school, because 9 times out of 10, if you attended a nursing school, if you attended Howard University College of Nursing or Emory College of Nursing, then I can guarantee you, probably 100% of the time, if you go to your LinkedIn page, that person is going to have that school listed on their particular resume, essentially on LinkedIn. Right. And so with that, friend them on LinkedIn, connect with them on LinkedIn and ask them, hey, I'm really interested in this particular school. What are your thoughts with regard to this school? Right. And so with that, you can find people who have gone to the schools that you're interested in going to. Definitely, it's worth it to spend 5-10 minutes reaching out to that person, reaching out to these individuals to make sure that not only they are satisfied with their experience, but they also can advise you on other options of what they would or would not do, right? And so that gets us into our next topic here, and that is when it comes to a lot of these nursing schools, not just fake nursing schools, but a lot of these schools are really price gouging, right? And so, as you know, there are different levels of nursing, right? So there's obviously CNAs and MAs and techs, right? But then there's also LPNs and LVNs, right? Then there's the next level of the associate's degree in nursing, the ADN, and then the BSN, right? And so at the ADN, the associate's degree or the BSN level, you're a registered nurse, right? And so a lot of these schools are not telling you that you can actually go directly into an ADN or BSN program by simply taking your prerequisites, right? And so a lot of these private schools, a lot of these, again, LPN programs, the CNA programs, they'll tell you that I've had students tell me this. You have to start here and work your way from being an MA to a CNA to an LPN and then bridge over to the RN, which means for them doing the ADN and then bridging over to the BSN. By the time you've done that, especially at a lot of these private schools, again, I don't want to harp on the private schools, but some public schools are doing this as well. But mainly the private schools are doing this, where they're saying you have to go through this pathway, right? That costs $100,000 to $150,000 along the way, right? And so I've heard of LPN programs costing $30,000, CNA programs $30,000, or MA programs for what? $30,000 for what, right? I would not do an LPN program for $30,000. That's ridiculous, right? And so for less than $500, not $5,000, less than $500, you can go and take your prerequisite classes. So those include general chemistry, general biology, anatomy and physiology, college English, college math, right? And so if you don't know what the prerequisites are, then look at that nursing school, that ADN or BSN program that you're trying to apply to. Go to their website, take a look at what are their prerequisites, what classes do they require for you to get into that program. Search around to multiple different schools, multiple different programs, right? Because let's say that you've only taken 2 of those classes, 2 of those prerequisites. Well, you may actually have enough to be able to get into a program. You just don't know it, right? And so you don't have to go into a CNA program. You don't have to go into an LPN program. If you're already a CNA, right, you go into an LPN program. Well, I mean, that's more of a lateral move. That's not a vertical move. You're not going to have many more opportunities as an LPN that you did not have as a CNA, right? However, if you are a CNA and you go into an ADN program and you become a registered nurse, you have drastically many more opportunities as an RN than you would as an LPN or a CNA. Okay, and so with that, if your goal is to get into the hospital to work as a travel nurse, to work and really advance into the next levels of nursing, then definitely go directly into an ADN or BSN program. I highly recommend ADN programs because with your prerequisites, you can go directly into an ADN program, an associate's degree in nursing. That can be a 1 or 2 year program. Okay. Now, once you finish your ADN, then you can start working and practicing in the hospital, making a pretty good, pretty decent salary in the 80s or 90s sometimes. Okay. And so with that, you also have the opportunities to do that and to, like I said, work in the nursing home, work in the hospital, work as a travel nurse. You have multiple different opportunities. And so the real kicker with that is when you do that and you go and you work as a staff nurse at a hospital, then a part of your contract should be to negotiate to have them pay for you to get your BSN. And so they will pay for you to get your BSN, so that way you're not paying for your BSN. But in addition to that, in addition to that, you're working at the hospital, right? You're earning a salary, right? While the school is also paying for you to get your BSN, right? So that's a huge win-win, right? And so where you don't necessarily have to pay for your BSN, you don't have to spend 3 years not working, right, in school and not working. You can actually spend 1 year, right, in school, getting your ADN, start working, and then while you're working, have the hospital pay for you to get your BSN, so you're not paying for it. And again, you're also making money while you're not paying for your BSN, right? And so again, definitely look for those opportunities, right? Because again, when you start applying to ADN and BSN programs and start looking at that as a clear, viable option for you, right? Instead of just the private schools that are only offering $30,000 for the LPN or the MA, and saying you have to do it like this, you have to do this, have to do that, right? You want to kind of question that. You want to kind of question that, right? You got to recognize that this is a business, and there are a lot of schools out there, even though they're not kind of considered fake nursing schools. There are a lot of schools out there that are just in it for the money, right? And they're just looking to get as many people to come through as possible, and they're willing to give you a loan, a $30,000 loan, which is ridiculous, just for your LPN or CNA or MA. And so I would not do that. Okay. All right. So with that, one of the other things that we like to talk about here as well is helping you to advance into the next level. And so going from healthcare to wealth care, right? And so caring about your wealth, right? And so with that, you can go from being a healthcare provider and so being a healthcare employee into generating passive income. And so passive income in the form of real estate, right? So through real estate ventures. And so whether it be apartment complexes, whether it be assisted living facilities, right? Whether it be nursing homes, right? And so certainly, as we do more of these sessions, as we talk more about this, we'll talk more about how to really leverage your skill set, especially in healthcare and your passion, instead of just working in the nursing home. Why don't you own the nursing home? Right? Why don't you own the residential assisted living facility? Right? Why don't you own this complex, this 12 or 13 unit apartment complex, right? That actually caters to individuals with special needs, right? And so there are opportunities to do that and opportunities to have you on board doing that, right? And so as you progress through your process of getting into nursing school, getting through nursing school, and start practicing, start thinking about and start learning more about how to get into real estate ventures, right? And so a lot of us in healthcare, right? We work, 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 but we don't think about how to actually get to the point where we work because we want to instead of because we have to, right? And so part of working because you want to and not because you have to really starts with figuring out how to generate passive income. And so passive income through real estate ventures. And so that's one of the things that I do personally. And I've helped I've actually partnered with some of my students who have gone through my program to actually partner with them on real estate deals. Okay. And so I'd love to do that with you as well. Love to teach you how to do that and love to show you different opportunities, let's work through and certainly look at different opportunities where you can do exactly that. Okay. And so with that, definitely happy to answer any questions that you have. Just wanted to again go through the spill of just talking about how to avoid, right. That's the big thing, how to avoid a lot of the fake nursing schools. And so you definitely have the opportunity to do that by, like I said, doing your research, talking to talking to alumni and other students who have gone to those schools. But in addition to that, making sure you're doing your research to look at how that school is performing and has performed over the years. But like I said, always keep the American dream in your thoughts, in your minds, and in the horizon of possibly, not even possibly, but definitely getting into passive income, right? And so taking your earned income from your W two job and turning that into passive income. Okay, and so with that, I want to thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the thumbs up. Really appreciate that. Please share this with your friends. Share this with others who are interested in nursing. Like I said, we will have more conversations about this, but also about getting into passive income through real estate, especially for healthcare providers. So it's not just real estate for everybody, but it's real estate in particular for healthcare providers, and talking about how to really leverage your skill set, leverage your experience and your expertise, especially in healthcare, because this is something that we have that most of the people who are not in this space do not have, right? And so we have a great opportunity to really leverage our skill set into a life of generational wealth and generational freedom, not only for us, but for our kids and our kids' kids. And so think about it in that context and think about it in that way. Okay, but please definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Definitely click the notification bell so you can get notifications when we do go live, and certainly follow our podcast here. Take a look at the other videos that we have as well. Definitely very informational videos, and definitely put in any comments or questions in the comment section below, and I will be sure to answer those questions. And so we will definitely do another live podcast on Monday at 8 p.m. So every Monday at 8 p.m. we do our live podcast, and so we'll have another topic coming out this week for next week's live podcast on Monday. Okay, and so feel free to certainly reach out to me directly. I'm Dr. Brian Adkins, 301-960-4950. And so if you are looking to get past the TEAS test, get past the HESI exam, you're looking for the opportunity to really get your scores into the 80s and 90s, definitely don't hesitate to give me a call or check out our website, adkinsacademy.com. And that's ADKINS Academy, ACADEMY.com. So again, AtkinsAcademy.com, and take a look at our TEAS prep course or HESI prep course, or any other course that you'd like to be a part of. All right. Thanks a lot. That's all my time for today, and we'll see you for the next podcast. Monday nights, 8 p.m. We'll see you there. All right. Thanks.